Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of Pinals People. We're here today at the Eloy Police Department, and joining us today is Eloy Police Chief Chris Vasquez. Chief Vasquez has been at the head of the Eloy PD for 5.5 years, and he's also had a lengthy career in law enforcement that has spanned 47 years, which has seen him serve in a number of roles, including Pinal County Sheriff's Office. Chris, we're so happy to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
So to start off today's conversation, let's talk a bit about your career in law enforcement. You've accomplished quite a bit over the last few decades. We were even just talking about, back in the 70s, with the whole Tyson escape. But what motivated you to start off in this career?
Well, it's funny. I didn't set out to be in law enforcement. My initial goal was to be a history teacher and a high school baseball coach. That's where I was going to college to be. But while I was going to college, we ended up getting married, and real quick, we was expecting a child. And I figured that I can't, trying to raise a family now, a newborn and a wife and all that to get started, I couldn't afford to go to college anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Just wasn't in the cards. And my brother was a police officer in California, and so I kind of wanted to follow his footsteps. And so I picked law enforcement as a career choice, kind of follow after him because I kind of idolized my brother growing up. He was my mentor growing up, and so I got into law enforcement because of that.
Oh wow, that's incredible. So did you, when you started first as an officer, did you ever think you'd end up sticking it out for 47 years?
Well, I don't know. I knew it, because once I got into law enforcement and I got the training and I actually started working the streets and performing the work and doing the work and moving up in rank and all that, it became a part of me. And so after a period of time, I just enjoyed it so much, working with people, helping people, and doing things, that it became, like I said, it became a part of me. And so I thought I would be in it for the long haul. 47 years, I didn't know if I'd go that long. Maybe I should have retired a long time ago, but I figured I'd be in law enforcement for quite a while.
Mm-hmm. Wow. What would you say has kept you motivated to continue going all this time in this career?
People. I really enjoyed working and being with people. I enjoyed, something as simple as a kid who has his bike stolen, of finding the perpetrator, catching him, getting the bike, and seeing the joy on that kid's face when I gave it back to him. And so working with people and dealing with people through all circumstances in their life motivated me, because it felt good to make a difference in somebody's life. Mm-hmm. And it gave me fulfillment. Not all the time. There were some times where it was just catastrophic and I couldn't. But for the most part, if I could make someone's life a little bit better because of a bad situation, it just gave me fulfillment that this is what my calling is. And so it's what has kept me going all these years.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And what would you say is the biggest lesson you've taken away from your time in law enforcement?
Is not mixing work with family. I was able to separate the two, that when I left the PD, when I got off work at duty and I went home, I didn't take it with me. And that's how a lot of relationships fail, because the officers cannot keep them separate. They take the work home with them, and they become vegetables, or they become irritable, or it hurts the relationship. Now, I'm very fortunate that my wife now also worked in law enforcement, and so she understood what I was going through. And there'd be some cases where I just needed to talk to somebody, I needed a shoulder to cry on. She was it. And so I had that ability to, I had her as my wife. Actually, my wife was my cornerstone to help me through my law enforcement career. Mm-hmm. And so my longevity has a lot to do with, I was able to keep them separate, But when needed to, I talked to my wife when I needed to.
Chief, that's beautiful. So, of course, we mentioned earlier off camera, we were talking about this. You are getting ready to retire. This is your last week. In fact, I think tomorrow is your last day.
Sure.
And so, as you kind of look back on, what you said is very much has been a part of you for so long, what would you say are some of the accomplishments you're most proud of?
Oh, heck. Here at the Eloy Police Department, it was coming in and changing a culture of service to people, in the mindset that we're here to serve the people and not the other way around. We're here to change the culture that was here. Not that it was a bad culture, it was still good. A lot of good people working here, but it was coming here and changing this culture and this beautiful building we're in. When I first walked in the door of the PD, before they built this, I go, dear God, what am I getting into? It was a nasty, ugly old building. It was terrible. And these guys deserve better than that. So one of my greatest accomplishments here is this building and getting the technology and the training that we had where we could take the PD and bring it into modern law enforcement, because they were shy. They weren't quite in modern law enforcement, and we brought them up to that level. And so here, that's my biggest accomplishment. But as far as other ones, there's it's a long way to go back. I've had a lot of very rewarding cases. I worked as a detective, as a police officer, and put a lot of people. Some bad people need to go to prison. I had a hand in doing all that. To name any one, it was just, I don't know if I could. It's because there's quite a few.
Yeah. No, that's understandable. But as you just mentioned this, you've had quite a variable career in law enforcement. And of course, among that was actually serving as the Pinal County Sheriff for a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about what got you interested in running?
Well, funny story. I was Roger Vanderpool, who was the Pinal County Sheriff when he decided to run. We used to kid each other about running for sheriff. And finally, we'd done it so long, and he was DPS, he worked at DPS at the time. I finally he was convinced he's going to run for sheriff. So he ran for sheriff, he won, and he brought me in as captain. And then after about a year or 14 months, I was promoted up to chief deputy as number 2. And loved it. And basically I ran the department while he went out in politics. And then he won his second election. And right after that, Governor Napolitano appointed him DPS director. And so me becoming sheriff I didn't do that willingly.
Oh, wow.
I love the man to death, Roger, but I'll never forgive him for leaving me and going to DPS. Because, in fact, initially when he came and told me what he was going to do, I told him no. I would not do it. Because I saw what he went through. I saw what politics I just did not want to do. And so I went home and I told my wife about it, and she says, well, why not? He says, you do good at it. You love people, you talk to people, and you would do good. Why not? Why not? Give it a shot. Don't say no. Besides, you got to find a job somewhere else. I said, oh, okay. So I go back in, and he comes to my office all worried, that long-faced, that I wasn't going to get it, and if I didn't take it, he wouldn't be able to be DPS director. So I made him squirm a little bit. And finally, I got a little grin on my face, told him that I would do it.
Oh, man.
And so I got appointed to be sheriff, and I ran my first election. And after 2 years by law, I had to run it at midterm to keep the job. And then I won that. And I was just fortunate the guy that ran against me knew less about politics than I did. And then my second election, which was on a normal cycle, I did come across a very good politician that knew how to run a good race, and I lost to him. And which probably was the best thing that ever happened to me, to be honest with you.
Oh, really?
Because although being sheriff and in politics, I got out a lot to meet people. I got to see just how diverse our county is. as far as low desert, high desert, and pine trees. And a lot of good people around Pinal County, different communities. I love that, but I didn't like the politics. I didn't like going around and the forums and all that stuff. I hated it. I just absolutely hated it. And so when I lost the election, I didn't lose any sleep. It didn't bother me. I was okay with it.
Yeah.
And then I had opportunity to, get back into law enforcement after I left there, and some chief's jobs, and now this one. And every now and then people will call me sheriff. I go, no, I got a promotion. I'm a chief.
Chief, wow, that's amazing. I mean, but it's quite a credible story, and it's so cool to see somebody who has such a variable background and knows so much about the county as well. Chief, as I understand it, you're actually from Eloy.
I was born in Casa Grande, but I was raised and educated here. My parents, my dad worked here at the old Hodges Pharmacy. We lived over on 8th Street. So I went from kindergarten all the way up through high school here in Eloy. So this is my home.
Wow.
And that's one of the motivations what made me want to put in for this chief job is I couldn't think of a better place to end my career but in the place that I grew up in that played a big influence in who I am, but my hometown of Eloy. I live here now. I actually bought a home and live here now. I couldn't think of a better place to come and end my career but in my hometown.
I mean, and how does that feel for you to be coming, somewhat full circle in the sense that you grew up here and now you're ending your career here?
It feels really good. I have a lot of pride in it, that I was able to come back and give back to the community that played, like I said, played an influence in who I am. A lot of good people, and this is a good town. Eloy has gotten a bad rap over the years, a very bad one. But if people just come and they come into the community and meet the people here, they would see what a good community Eloy really is. And there's a lot of good people in this community. A town this size, for example, has turned out more pro athletes than in the school, high school, than any school per capita. More, from football to baseball. More. What other town can boast that?
Yeah.
Eloy can.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you mentioned that one of the things you've appreciated about Eloy is that it has so many good people here. From somebody who's grown up here to somebody who's worked here, what's something that you love the most about Eloy and you wish you could share with everybody in the county?
I like the community events. We have quite a few of them. The Fiestas Pietras, that's just amazing for a small town. And they get right here across the street in Main Street, which is the focal point of the community, or our Main Street Park, and we come together and just have a huge weekend party. And the people just come together to have a good time, to celebrate our heritage, and to celebrate the heritage of the community. I think it's how this town comes together for events like that. They're starting a balloon glow, and at each event we average maybe 4,000 or 5,000 people, just in this downtown area, but just the people coming together for a different, Cinco de Mayo and just different events like that. It's really good to see.
Yeah. And then, as we've talked about before, you are retiring. If there's one message that you could give to the staff and the officers that work here, what would it be?
Always remember who you work for, okay? We don't work for the city of Eloy. We don't work for a chief who sits in the office over there. We don't work for the command staff. We work for the people. Our job is to go out and work with them and to not forget who they answer to. It's the people. At the end of the day, when an assistant says, I pay your salary, they're absolutely right. They do pay our salary through the form of taxes. And so not to lose sight of who we work for and why we are here. It's to make someone's life better because of a bad situation. To keep that in mind.
Yeah. And you know, as you look back on your 47-year career in law enforcement, what's something, you know, as you prepare to retire, you think you're going to miss most about it?
You know, I'll miss the coming to this building every day, the camaraderie that we have amongst the staff. We get along so well, and so I'll miss my staff that I work with. They have been very supportive of me. They work hard. They're very loyal. They're very loyal to the community. They're very loyal to the profession, and they're very loyal to the department. And so I'll miss each and every one of them, coming in and seeing them and talking to them each and every day. But I'll also miss the I kind of will miss the people in a sense, but I won't, because I'm still going to be around. I'll still on Cinco de Mayo or on community events, I'll still come out and mingle with the people. So I'm not. It's not like I'm going away. So basically, probably the biggest one is this department. I'll miss the people.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there's one last question I have for you, Chief, and it's actually a question we've been making it our mission to ask everybody who comes on the show. Usually I frame it in a different way because we ask people to kind of project out and think about years down the line when they reach the end of their career or the end of their passion project, what they see for the future. But of course, that day is tomorrow for you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to frame it in a different way.
Okay.
But let's imagine, you know, that you're getting ready. I know you've already packed up your office, but you're kind of putting away the final stuff, and you have a sticky note on your desk, and the sticky note is the thing that you can leave behind for the next person, the next generation to pass on the torch. And on that sticky note, there's only room for one lesson or piece of advice for the next generation. What would it be?
That basically the secret of success is not worrying about who gets the credit. The secret is to how do I phrase it? I wish I had it, because I did have a clear on my desk. It was a Ronald Reagan quote.
Oh, really?
And it was basically don't worry about who gets the credit, just get the job done. It doesn't matter who gets the credit, because we all win by it. So, and I kind of formed my leadership style by that. A lot of things we've accomplished here wasn't because of ideas I got. It was because of the ideas that the rest of my staff had. And I don't have an ego to where it's got to be mine. It's got to be my idea. I did this, I did that. And I want the command staff, the new chief coming in, and the officers to have own this place, and not worry about who's going to get the credit. Because at the end of the day, when we succeed, it makes us all look good. Everybody gets the credit. So don't worry about who gets the credit. Just throw the seed out there and let it grow.
That's amazing. Chief Vasquez, thank you so much, sir.
My pleasure, and thank you for having me.